In the year 1600, a man was led into a public square in Rome. His hands were bound, his tongue had been cut out, so he could not speak his final words. They tied him to a stake, and they burned him alive. His name was Giordano Bruno, and his crime was thinking, not plotting against the state, not inciting violence, not organizing rebellion. He wrote down what he believed to be true about the universe, and what he believed terrified the most powerful institution in the world, so they imprisoned him for 8 years. They offered him freedom in exchange for one thing: take it back, say you were wrong, admit that your ideas are false. He refused. For 8 years, he refused, and on the 17th of February, in the year 1600, they ran out of patience. This is not a video about religion, or about science, or about the politics of the Renaissance. This is about something that happened 500 years ago, that tells you something essential about power, about what happens when an idea becomes more dangerous than an army, about why the people who hold power have always feared above everything else. A mind they cannot control, and about what Bruno understood, that almost no one in his time was willing to say out loud. Who was Giordano Bruno? He was born in 1548 in a small town near Naples. His real name was Filippo. He took the name Giordano when he entered the Dominican order as a young monk. He was, by all accounts, extraordinary. His memory was almost supernatural. He developed techniques for memorizing vast quantities of information, techniques so effective that kings and noblemen paid to learn them. He spoke multiple languages. He read everything. He questioned everything, and that last quality was the one that would destroy him. From the beginning, Bruno could not accept ideas simply because he was told to. He read Copernicus, the astronomer who had proposed cautiously that the Earth might move around the sun rather than the other way around. Most scholars of his time treated this as an interesting mathematical model. Bruno took it further, much further. If the Earth moves around the sun, then the sun is not the center of everything. It is simply one star, and if the sun is simply one star, then the universe is full of stars, and if the universe is full of stars, then perhaps some of those stars have worlds around them, and if those worlds exist, then perhaps they are inhabited, and if they are inhabited, then what does that mean for every claim that humanity is the unique, singular, chosen creation at the center of a finite universe? Bruno did not ask these questions quietly. He wrote them down, he published them. He traveled across Europe, England, France, Germany, Switzerland, lecturing at universities, debating scholars, presenting his ideas to anyone who would listen. He was brilliant. He was arrogant. He was impossible to ignore. And everywhere he went, he made enemies. The ideas that condemned him, it is important to understand exactly what Bruno believed, because the ideas that got him killed are not strange or mystical. They are, in many ways, the ideas that modern science has since confirmed. The universe is infinite. Bruno argued that space has no edge, no boundary, no center. This was not just scientifically radical, it was theologically catastrophic, because if the universe is infinite, then God cannot simply be located somewhere within it. The entire architecture of medieval cosmology, heaven above, hell below, earth at the center, God presiding over a finite creation, collapsed. There are countless worlds. Bruno proposed that the stars in the night sky are suns, that they have planets around them, that life may exist throughout the cosmos. 500 years later, we have confirmed that there are more stars in the observable universe than grains of sand on every beach on Earth. Bruno was right. God is not separate from the universe. Bruno believed that the divine was not a monarch sitting outside creation, issuing commands. He believed that God was present in everything, in every atom of matter, every flicker of light, every living creature. This philosophy, called pantheism, had ancient roots. But saying it loudly in 1600 in Catholic Europe was not philosophy. It was heresy. The trap in 1591. Bruno made the decision that would end his life. He accepted an invitation to return to Italy. A Venetian nobleman named Giovanni Mocenigo had written to him, asking to be taught Bruno's famous memory techniques. Bruno accepted. It was, almost certainly, a trap. Within months of his arrival, Mocenigo turned him over to the Inquisition. The charges were extensive: heresy, blasphemy, holding opinions contrary to the Catholic faith. Bruno was transported to Rome and placed in a cell in the Castel Sant'Angelo. The interrogations began. What followed over the next 8 years is one of the most extraordinary examples of intellectual courage in recorded history. The Inquisition was not a crude institution. It was patient, methodical, sophisticated. They did not simply demand that Bruno confess and accept punishment. They engaged with him, debated him, gave him opportunities repeatedly to recant, to withdraw his ideas, to acknowledge error, to submit. Bruno negotiated. He offered to retract some claims, to soften certain positions, but on the core ideas, the infinite universe, the plurality of worlds, the nature of God, he would not move. He told his interrogators something that has echoed through history ever since. He said that he had nothing to recant, that he had no fear of their judgment, that perhaps they pronounced this sentence against him with greater fear than he received it. On the morning of February 17, 1600, Bruno was brought to the Campo dei Fiori, the Field of Flowers in the center of Rome. He was stripped, bound to a stake, surrounded by wood and straw. A crucifix was held up to him for a final chance at submission. He turned his face away. The fire was lit. Witnesses reported that he made no sound, what they could not burn. Here is what the Inquisition did not understand. You can burn a man. You cannot burn an idea whose time has come. Bruno's books were placed on the Index of Forbidden Books, the official Catholic list of publications no one was permitted to read. They remained there for over 200 years, and yet his ideas spread because the people who read his work before the ban copied it, passed it hand to hand, whispered it in universities across Europe. The attempt to silence him became the thing that preserved him. Every scholar who heard that a man had been burned for these ideas wanted to know what the ideas were. The execution was supposed to end the conversation. It began one that has never stopped. What Bruno understood, that his executioners did not there, is a lesson in Bruno's story that goes beyond science or religion or history. It is a lesson about the nature of power and about its limits. The most powerful institution in the world in 1600 had armies, wealth, prisons, and the authority to end lives, and it could not stop one man's ideas from surviving because power has always understood something that it will never admit publicly. Physical force can control bodies. It cannot control minds. The moment an idea takes root in enough minds, it becomes unstoppable. Bruno understood this. He understood it so completely that he chose death rather than betray the truth as he saw it. Not because he was reckless, not because he had a death wish, but because he understood something about integrity that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. There are things worth more than safety. There are commitments worth more than comfort. And the person who has identified what those things are for them is the one person that no external force can truly defeat. You can imprison a man who will not compromise his understanding of truth. You can silence him, you can burn him, but the record of his refusal remains. And that record speaks to every generation that comes after. It says, this was possible. A human being faced the full weight of institutional power and did not flinch. That is not a lesson from history. That is a mirror. The statue of Giordano Bruno stands today in the Campo dei Fiori. In the exact spot where he was burned, he faces the Vatican. It was erected in 1889 against the fierce objection of the Catholic Church. Every year, on the anniversary of his execution, people bring flowers. The field of flowers now belongs to him. 500 years ago, they killed a man for writing what he believed. His books were burned. His name was erased from official records. His ideas were declared dangerous, and yet you just heard them. That is not coincidence. That is what happens when the truth is stronger than the people trying to bury it. They never taught you this in school because some things they are still afraid of. VeilMind. Decode the hidden rules of the mind. They never taught you this in school.